Hey everyone, good morning and good evening. So let's start with today's session and let's see what exactly we're doing today. Okay, so yesterday we spoke about how do we override variables. We spoke about how do we create multi-environments. Then we saw how do we define variables at runtime. These are the things which we spoke about and we integrated this with the pipelines also. Now taking this further, one step further, let's go ahead integrate the same thing now with the build and release pipeline. Now we have the templates in my repository over here. And till now we were running the template directly from the source, that is from the repository source, which is not right. I want this to be part of my build pipeline itself. So whenever my build is getting created, the artifact which is getting created, the artifact basically should have even the template files. Over here itself, I should have the JSON files. It should not happen that I need, for running ARM, I need to go and repose and do things separately. It should be all part of one plan. Okay. Now, how do we achieve it? First thing. Then we'll see how do we go ahead and deploy changes directly so that my ARM will create the web app first. Then my actual application will get deployed on top. This is what we'll go and see now. Okay. Now, okay. So let's go and see how can we achieve this. Understood, guys? Like what exactly we're trying to do? Any doubt with the use case? So whatever we are doing it through the release, this is directly happening from the repository, the commits which we're doing. I want a proper build to be created. The template should be part of the build. And once my web app is created, the other step, my application should also be automatically deployed. That is what my expectation is. Very simple. Okay. For doing that, let's go and make changes to the build pipeline. Let's open this build and why this was failing. Let's go and see this first. Agent 237 not found. 237 agent. Let's go and edit this. Okay, right. Let's select the agent. Okay. So these are the steps what we have: NuGet install, NuGet restore, build, and publish. Now in between, I need to have a copy task. Why? Because I got files inside this folder, and from this folder I need to copy these JSON files to my artifact directory. What is my artifact directory? This, correct? If I have the files in this directory, this build artifact staging directory, then I can have it in my drop location eventually, correct? Everyone agrees, correct? What exactly build artifact staging area is? So this is the area where your artifacts are downloaded, basically. So I need to have a copy task added. So let's go and add a copy task now. Let's have something called copy. There are multiple copy tasks. Copy files over SSH, which I don't want. Copy publish build artifact, which I don't want. Copy files. So copy files from source folder to target folder using pattern matching. This is what I want. Add it and keep it just above the publish task. Now source folder. What is the source folder? I can simply go and select this is my source folder. That's it. What is the pattern? Do you want to match any specific pattern as such? Yeah, I can do that. Something like this I can do. Not this. Something like this I can do. Can we do this pattern matching? Yeah, definitely we can do that, correct? We are doing the same thing over here. A backslash, forward slash. I think forward will work. Forward should work. What should be the target folder? What did I say? If you have your files in this location, that can be easily placed later in drop location. Now, what this location is, if you have forgotten, it's better to go and look into redefine and put the things over here and see what exactly it is. A local path on the agent where any artifacts are copied before being pushed to the destination. So this is the place where I want my templates to be copied as well. So a very simple copy task. The source folder is this. Content, I just want to copy all the JSON files. There are any other files if you want. You can even put those contents over here. For now, I'll stick with JSON. Okay, target folder, I'm keeping this file in this location. Why I'm keeping this in location? So that when I'm running this publish task, I'll have all the files in my drop location eventually. Now this become part of my build pipeline. Okay, this is how you will keep on adding different set of tasks in your build pipeline. Now I can go and save and queue. Okay, let's run the build pipeline and see if things are getting copied. Whatever we are doing right now, the exact same thing we'll do with Yaml as well. Guys. So keep this in mind. Whatever you see, whatever task we have added, whatever copy and all we are adding, the exact same thing we'll do it with Yaml. And we'll write everything from scratch. And henceforth, for Java and everything, we'll do everything using classic mode only. Sorry, not classic, with using YAML mode only. Okay. Anyone, any questions? Till now? Anyone was able to deploy ARM template through pipeline successfully? No one? Pipelines, guys? Okay, if you see this copy task, your parameter.json, your webapp.json was placed in this directory, artifact staging area. Now from here, the file will be pushed into your drop location. If you want to verify, you can go to your build, you can go to your publish, and you can go in the drop location. You can see this parameter.json, app.json. Both your files are right in your drop location. So you got three important files: zip file, parameter.json file, app.file. And if you want a method to ignore this XML files, even that is possible. If you want it, we can ignore these files also, unnecessary files. But for now, focus area is webapp.zip, parameter.json, webapp.json. Okay. Now, how do I let's go and make the changes to the build pipeline. Let's remove this git source. Let's add a build. Now, this is the right way of including infra as a code scripts inside your release pipeline. Okay, now I'll go and make changes over here. Everything else will remain as it is. The only thing I'll change is this default working directory. I'll select this app.json, and I can even have this template parameter file. Rest everything, and I'll enable this also. My build also will enable. So basically, as soon as my web app is created, I want my deployment to happen automatically. So this is my application, ASP.NET application, correct? I want my application to be deployed to my web app. Okay, so let's go and try this. Okay, I got multiple release. I don't want all this to run because if it runs, it will create 3 versions: dev, QA, and stage. This is auto triggered. There are pre-deployment condition. So basically with this condition, it will automatically run my QA also, and it will automatically run my stage also. So I don't want to run 3 environments. So I'll keep it manual. As of now, this is all set to manual for now. So let's go and create, and let's deploy it in dev for now. Okay, let's wait and watch. Now we got multiple tasks. The first task is to deploy ARM template. The second task is to deploy my ASP.NET application on that web server which is created using ARM. Okay, anyone? Any doubt? Any questions? Looking in the chat. This weekend, guys, don't keep the backlog of ARM template. Whatever we did, make sure to complete that. Because after this, the second backlog will be YAML script. If you don't practice, you will not understand anything in YAML. That is very much advanced. This is very easy, classic. When we're talking classic, this is very easy and straightforward. When you start with YAML, you have to literally go and write YAML scripts for running your build and release, and that is something will eventually help you when you start working on projects. So if you have any backlogs, if you have not practiced anything yet, make sure complete it by this weekend itself. When we start Monday fresh, most probably I'll be starting with YAML build and release on Monday. So make sure you guys are ready with all this classic, how exactly the build and release happens in classic. You are all done and there's no backlog. Okay, so the template was deployed, and this is a known issue. The error is known issue. I'll tell you what is the issue. The template was deployed successfully, but my deployment has failed, saying the resource devopsmela doesn't exist. Okay, let's go and verify if it is existing or not. Portal. This is the account, correct? Yeah. Resource group. I have the resource group perfect. RG dev. I have the resources also. Then why did I get the error? Now if I go and redeploy, this will be deployed successfully. Now why did it fail at the first place? That is the question. That is something I'll talk about later. For now, let me open this app, web app. Let me show you what exactly it is displaying right now when you try to access this web app. Okay, nothing for now. Let's wait while my deployment happens. Okay, so the deployment is in place right now. Let's Okay, so waiting for console output. doesn't exist. Okay, this is look okay. This is the error because guys, the task previously we were deploying on a service named DevOps. I need to change this. So what is the name of my service now? This is getting generated from here, correct? The web app name is something like this. And this name will be given by the variables. Okay, so this is what change needs to be done. Understood the issue? Previously we have that is the reason I always say don't hard code. Because if you keep on hard coding, you will end up getting all these errors. Because you'll not even know where exactly the things are hard coded. If you're playing with variables, now see, I'm keeping this as a variable now. The values are defined over here. Okay, it will take the values directly from here. So this is a major region why it has failed. Now I'll just disable this task because I don't want ARM to run again and it will take my 1 minute. I want my deployment task to run directly. Okay, so understood why exactly things started failing. The issue was over here that this devopsmela does not exist, and this devopsmela naming convention was hard coded on my task. Basically, same issue I was facing in the first time also. I thought it is something different. No problem. Okay, now we made the change. Even in my deployment task, we have added the variable name itself. Now, this is the name which we are calling, and basically this is getting the values from over here. Okay, perfect. Let's wait. So now the deployment is running right now, guys. There's no issue. Let's refresh and see if it is deployed. Do you see it is deployed? Welcome to devopsmela testing continuous deployment model. Done. Successful. Now we haven't created, unlike last time wherein we created the web app manually. Then we deployed an application. This time, as we know ARM templates, we have integrated ARM. We created ARM web app, integrated ARM with a build pipeline. Now integrated ARM task with a release pipeline. Now eventually we did everything together. Okay, the error which I was talking about, which you might get, is when you're running a task. So when this ARM template gets successfully deployed, there is a very least gap between these two tasks. So this is a very similar error which you will get, that the resources are not available even though the resource is created. So that this is kind of a bug, I would say, because if one task is successful, it should reflect immediately, but because of some minor 10-15 second gap, it runs automatically and it fails, asking that the resource is not available even though the resource is created. This was a different issue, this was a different error. This, in my case, this was a wrong name was hard coded, but this is in real time you will get such errors. So how do we work with such issues? If you end up getting, even though the resource is created, like if I try to run a QA environment, you may end up getting that error that the resource is created but still you're getting the error. So in such cases, let me edit the actual pipeline now, and let me enable this, and this time will not make that mistake of not changing the value. We'll go and update this. Same will do it for dev also. Update. Same will do it for stage also. Update. Okay. Now the error which I was talking about, that if there is no time gap between these two tasks, the next task after the ARM tends to fail. Like out of 10, I've seen thrice it has failed. Maximum time it passed. But how do you fix, even though if it is failing one time, it's a failure for me. How do we get rid of such issues? And how do we put some sort of gap in between so that whenever my ARM template is successful, I should have at least a 60 seconds of gap before my next task is getting executed. So for doing that, there is a PowerShell script which we need to write. Not exactly a PowerShell script, it's just a PowerShell module which you will be using. By using that module, what you will do, you will end up putting a 60-second gap between these two tasks. Now this is not necessary, guys. This is we have experience in my previous batches, and plus when I execute this in real time, I have experienced that once the ARM is successful, there is a time gap which it takes to refresh the actual infra. And when the deployment task run, the deployment fails with the resource not available. Okay, this is what we have failed. So in order to avoid this, we can have some middleware task in between. In the meanwhile, let me delete the resource which was created earlier. I'll use the same. So I'll disable this, enable this. Okay, there's something in the chat. Okay, the question is, when we are implementing the code in a VS Code, usually the code will be pushed to Azure repos to keep the code for tracking purpose. Tracking purpose? Which code are we talking about, Kishore? Is it your application code, template code?
Yeah, the template code or application code, whatever the code we are writing in the Visual Studio Code.
No, that is not for tracking purpose. Basically, if you put it in Git repository, tracking is one of the a feature of Git. Mostly it is used to integrate your build pipeline, release pipeline, adding those code. Like if your code is not in your Git repository, you cannot add it into your build, correct?
Yes.
So even your template file, if you're running your ARM template locally, for example, in your case, for example, okay, so you're not making use of the pipelines. You're not doing any integration as such because you're doing things locally, for example. So in such cases, you can keep your template files in a Git repository so that it is backed up, it is tracked, and if there's any change in version, everything is getting tracked. Plus you have a copy in cloud, and so that you can share it across with others. And there's no other use which you're doing right now. You're writing template, you are keeping it in a Git repository, and you're executing it manually from your local. Then in that case, that piece of code is for tracking purposes. Same goes with application also. For example, you have created an application, you pushed your application into your Git repo, and you have not done anything else. No other DevOps tools you have used, just a Git repo, just keeping your source code, and later you're deploying that code manually. This example, you're building the code locally, creating a zip file, and manually going on a VM and unzipping it and manually deploying it. Then even your application code is as good as you're just keeping a copy, tracking it for change in version, and if you want to share it with others, that is what the use is. But the actual use comes in when, along with Git, you're using some sort of CI/CD pipeline and you're automating everything. At that time, your code is not just for tracking. There are other things which you're doing by connecting to that code. Make sense?
Yes, yeah, Rohit, thank you.
No problem. Yeah, so even though I have seen many projects in which they just use Git just for namesake. They create the application, they put the code in the Git, and they don't know what to do next. And later they do everything manually. So I have seen this also. This is a very live example, which I have later, when I joined them, we have automated everything. Okay? But yeah, many companies, just for namesake that they are following DevOps, they will have n number of tools and they don't know how to utilize it. I've seen it. This is a live example. Okay, where was I? So I was talking about in between we'll be adding a sleep task which will basically wait for 60 seconds before executing the next task. So there is no such sleep task or such. We'll be using a PowerShell script and we'll be running a PowerShell script in between. So this PowerShell script, basically what we'll do, I'll have an inline script. Remove this. Okay. So nothing but I will be using a module that is called as start sleep. This is the module and I'll make it sleep for 60 seconds. So start sleep is a module in PowerShell. We're using that module. This is the flag seconds and I'm putting 60. So that means it will wait for 60 before it goes and execute the next step. You can name this script as sleep 60, whatever best naming convention you can give. This is web app creation. This is how you'll start giving naming convention to your pipeline, and this is your app deploy. Okay, done. This is for stage environment I did. So let me run the stage environment directly now. Now let's go on to the stage. That's why I kept it manual so that I can run whichever stage I want. Now I'll just go ahead. Hopefully we have defined variables for stage. Let's go and see. Yeah, we got variables defined. Yeah, things are looking good. Let's see. Okay, in the meanwhile it is running. Anyone has any question? This is just a continuation of ARM, guys. So your web app creation task is in progress. Has failed. Perfect. Let's go and debug. Okay, so stage is available. Creating deployment. Checkout could not find matching template file pattern. Anyone can tell me what could be the issue over here? There is an error. Could not find any matching template file pattern. What does this mean? Anyone wants to try? This is very important in DevOps life. Debugging, understanding the errors. Anyone wants to give a try what this could be?
Rohit, before we included the slash JSON format, I believe. That's why this getting error. I'm thinking that.
We have included start JSON format.
Yeah, before we did, right?
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So the guy, this path is not set. So right, Kishore. So you're talking about the path, correct? Come to stage. Come to this. This is still pointing to the previous one. DevSecOps, your Git repo. This thing is not set. You have to come and set the path. So this debugging you should know. By seeing the error, you should know what possibly you have done wrong. And let me tell you, 90% of time by seeing the logs, you will get an idea what is wrong. Only 10% you will get a very vague error. Then you'll end up scratching your head what exactly this is. But 90% of time you will get a clear cut error telling you what exactly is wrong. Okay, let's run this again. Even if I go and run the QA now, the QA will get the same error. Because if remember when we integrated the build again, we just made changes to the dev environment, not to other environment. Okay, now if you see, there's no error. The deployment actually started and your template deployment validation was completed successfully. So your web app started deploying. Let's wait. Perfect. Now your build was completed. Now see this other task. Waiting for console output from an agent. So this is basically waiting now. It will wait for 60 seconds. It will wait for 60 seconds eventually. Then it will go and deploy. So your stage environment is set, but it is waiting for 60 seconds before it goes to the next stage, app deploy. Perfect. This is as expected. This is what is happening right now. Okay, while this is running, this will get deployed eventually. Let me introduce to the next topic, that is YAML scripting. So we'll understand we are not writing build and release pipeline. We'll understand basic of YAML. This should exist. This is the error I was talking about, guys. See, even though we have the resource available, I'm still getting this error, but this should not give me error after waiting for 60 seconds. Same naming convention, devopsmela stage. devopsmela stage. So this is the error which I was talking. Even though we have the resource available, still giving me the error. This is kind of a bug. But after adding the sleep task, it should not give this error. I don't know why this time it gave the error. Let me disable all this and let me redeploy the change. This was not the right error because we have the resource available. Let me try to access that resource. Yeah, we do have it. This time it should not fail. And this was the error which I was talking about previously. Again there. Are we using a different service connection as such? No, everything is looking good. Let me log out and log in once. This could be possibly because of some caching. And let me open this in incognito mode. Hopefully I should remember the password. Let's redeploy again. No changes done, guys. I'm just redeploying because I'm getting unnecessary errors stating the resource is not available, though we have the resource available. Now see the deployment started. So this is, I don't know if it's my issue, my system, the cache issue, or I don't know, but this is weird. You have the resource, it should eventually not fail and it should get deployed directly. But after running in incognito mode, it's running. So it could be my caching issue. Okay, so this will be deployed eventually. Let's wait and watch. Let's see if some of the files are deployed. Perfect. Still deploying, but we have the application up now. See, deployed successfully. So yeah, still you need to keep a practice of adding this sleep task, guys, because if you have it, there's a time gap, and in such issues which I just faced right now, you can avoid such issues. But in my case, it was not avoided. That's a different story. Okay, that's it. Anyone has any question? And keep a practice, like, because I do so many times I run pipelines, so I tend to get all these errors. In your case, you may not get these errors, but if you end up getting these errors, make sure to always switch to incognito mode and try running the same. Okay, let's go back and let's see what else we can do. So this is running, this will go and delete things. Then the next topic is YAML. Let's understand some basic syntax for YAML. Using the basic syntax, we'll be eventually writing a build and release pipeline. So YAML is not a fancy language, guys. It's very simple, straightforward English. It's a data serialization language. Okay. You just have to take care of indentation. That's it, and spacing. Two things, indentation and spacing, that is the only two things you need to take care in YAML. And let me tell you, YAML is a very simple scripting language. So, and it is way easier than what we are doing in class. Okay. So just keep that in mind, and let's go back to our PPT screen and let's see what exactly is YAML. Okay, as I said, data serialization language, YAML is a data serialization language, is the process of converting data objects present in complex data structure into a byte of stream for storage, transfer, and distribution. Now I know this is a high level definition what I'm talking about. Let me make it very simple for you. Complex data structure is your database, and nowadays when you using your application, you fetch so many information from your database on your screen itself. It goes to the database, runs the select statement, gets the data, and it displays it on your screen application itself. That is all happening because of data serialization. What are the data serialization language? JSON, YAML, XML, these are all data serialization language. So you get the output either in JSON, you get the call, request, YAML or XML. These are the formats which you see. So serialization is nothing but it's a when reading data from databases and transferring it across the web. Okay. Now nowadays all the web sites are not websites; those are web applications, and those are dynamic web application wherein most of your database insert, put, get is all done from your front end application itself. Okay, all this, even JSON, like ARM template example, we wrote the ARM template in JSON format. Then again, it's a data serialization language. It got converted as a put request. Then using Azure ARM APIs, the resource was getting created. Correct, that was the flow. Same goes over here. You write it in YAML, it gets converted as an API call, and the thing gets executed. So serialization is basically used for this purpose. Okay, it is basically used for converting data objects into a byte of stream so that it can be easily transported over the internet. That is why serialization language we use. So some commonly used serialization formats are JSON, YAML, XML. Okay. Now we have already seen JSON. JSON has multiple curly braces, multiple brackets, this, that. That is very confusing. For anyone who is not familiar with coding, it is definitely a confusing language. Same goes with YAML. YAML is not straightforward, guys. When in YAML, if you see YAML files, you will get confused what exactly this is. But not YAML, sorry, XML. But if you see YAML, even for a non-IT guy, non-tech guy, if he doesn't know English, if he doesn't know coding, and if he knows simple English, he can at least read through the file what exactly is written. That is what YAML is all about. At least what exactly is written, you can read through it and you can tell me, okay, maybe possibly this is what is happening. If you are a non-coder guy or if you have no experience with coding, that is what YAML is all about. So YAML, as I said, it's a data serialization format, stands for INT markup language. Written in very simple English, easier to human to read and write. It's written in very simple English. I'll show you the format, and when basically we'll try starting writing YAML, you will understand. Now this is a major difference in Jenkins. Now people ask me why not Jenkins, why Azure DevOps. Jenkins uses Groovy, and Groovy language is not that straightforward, not that simple. If you're familiar with JavaScript, then Groovy will make more sense to you. But if you're not familiar with this, then Groovy will be way, because there are so many curly braces and things like that. that you will tend to get confused what exactly you're doing in Jenkins. Same goes with Azure DevOps. In Azure DevOps, we don't use Groovy and all, we use YAML. YAML is straightforward, simple, English. With basic understanding, you can go and start writing YAML scripts. Though we have other assistants which we can use, but with basic understanding, you can start writing your build and release pipeline in YAML. That is also a major difference between Jenkins and Azure DevOps. Okay, YAML supports various data types. You can have cases, arrays, dictionary, list, and scalars. So we have seen dictionary, list in JSON. So all this is all supported by YAML. It also has a good support for most popular language like JavaScript, Python, Ruby, etc. So if you want to integrate with your YAML with all these popular languages, you can easily do it. YAML only, this is very important, YAML only support spaces, and it is case sensitive as well as space sensitive. So YAML, even a single extra space will end up giving you error. So when you're writing YAML, keep this in mind, YAML is space and case sensitive. If anything is starting with caps, you have to start with caps, you cannot go in lowercase. If anything having one space, you have to give only one space, you cannot use two space. More importantly, you cannot use tab completion in YAML. What do I mean by tab completion? In Linux we have seen, correct? When I was doing tab, automatically the word was getting completed. Now in normally also if you do tab, it gives 3 space. It adds 3 space. Like if I go to notepad, there's a notepad. If I add notepad, if I do a tab, it is adding 3 space in between. This is not permitted. Backspace, no, not backspace, space bar, 1 space. This is what you have to keep when you're writing YAML scripts. Tabs are not accepted universally. A YAML file has an extension .yaml. Not just .yaml guys, a YAML file could have extension .yml or .yaml. It's up to you how you want to save it. Two things universal can tab is not accepted. Spaces and cases. YAML is sensitive to both. Keep this in mind. Okay. So some basic syntax. So whatever basic syntax I will be showing you over here is the same syntax we'll be using it tomorrow when we write the first build pipeline using YAML. Make sense? Okay. So mapping is supported. Mapping is nothing but dictionary wherein you have a key and a value. Note the space is very crucial in YAML, unlike JSON, and in JSON and XML the spaces in JSON and XML the YAML is the spaces are okay, but in YAML you should not use spaces. Okay, this is what mapping value is all about. You got the key, you got the value defined. This 3 dashes, whenever you write a YAML, any YAML file, you will find out this 3 dashes at the top. Now what this dashes is this dashes compulsory? The answer is no. Why? Let me go back to Visual Studio. Do we have VS Code? Yeah. Assume I'm creating a YAML file over here. Let's name this as okay. Now let's create inside this. Name it as test.yml. Now automatically it will detect that it is a YAML language. If you come down over here, you'll see YAML language selected automatically. Now what this 3 dashes define? Now this is what we have it in my PPT. DevOpsmela age Okay, location Mumbai, something like this. Now what this three dashes is all about, this is the starting of your YAML file. Now this three dashes means this is a starting of a YAML file. Okay. Now why did I say it is optional? Because if you are just writing one script, then this is not required. You can put it, there's no harm. You can still keep it, but this is completely optional. If you just have this script, for example, then you don't need to put this. But if you have multiple scripts inside the same file, then this is how YAML will understand what is your starting line and where the next script starts. Something like this. If you have something like this, then where the next script starts, this is YAML. This is how YAML will understand. So this will be taken as one script with YAML. Now after this three dashes, this will be taken as second script in YAML. If you are writing multiple scripts inside the same file, then you can make use of this dashes. Okay. Now if you see, as soon as I define key value, there is a space assigned over here. Did I assign the space automatically? No. All thanks to VS Code and all thanks to the YAML plugin which I'm using, which is keeping the space, one space. This was done automatically. I have not done it. If I do this, if I remove this space, see the coloring, how it is changing. This is the error. See, as soon as I give a space, the error is gone. Okay, this is how you need to give equal number of spaces. So one space I have given everywhere. Okay, so keep this in mind. This is mapping value in YAML. Okay. Second, YAML also supports data types like characters, strings, floating values, integers, collection arrays that are constructed from basic data types. So YAML supports this string. If you have a string, you can have it in single inverted comma, or you can also have it in double inverted comma. It also supports Boolean, false, true. It also supports floating. Floating is like decimals. If you have decimals, it also supports decimal values. It also supports null values. If you don't define any values, then if you want to define null, even that is supported. And integers, we have already seen, supports integers. Okay, these are the data types which is supported by YAML scripting. And see how simple it is. What did I say? It's written in simple English. This is your YAML script, guys. This is your YAML script. Written in very simple English, easy to understand. Next, this is how, if you want to list in YAML, this is how the list is created. For example, if you want to define a list of fruits, you can simply have something like this: apple. You can have fruits written, and this fruits could have apple, it could have mango, it could have cherry. This is how you will define list in YAML with a dash. Now do you see a space over here? Two spaces I've given everywhere, and after the dash I'm giving one space. This is how a list is defined. Now this is called nested list, to be very specific. If you just want to define the list, this is how, only with the dash the list is defined. But I have basically defined a nested kind of list, wherein this part is acting as a key and these part are values. This is called as nested list, and this is your dictionary. And this is a simple list, the apple, banana, mango, what you see over here. This is a very simple list, what you see. What I had defined over here, this is kind of a nested list which I have defined it over here in front of you. Okay. Same way, you can have nested dictionary. Why this is dictionary? This is actually your key first. These are the values. Then if you see, there's one more key over here, and this is the value. So this is known as nested dictionary. Then you got nested list key. Then this is a sub value. Then this is a key. This is a value. Student 2. So student 2 has father name and grade. So like this student 2, you can have student 1. That becomes a list for you. Then student 3, student 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9, 10. Mother name and the value. Student detail, subject 1, subject 2. This is called nested dictionary. And this is nested list. These are the three formats what you see right now in front of you. List, nested list, and nested dictionary. This is exactly the function we'll be using inside a build and release pipeline. Nothing different. Nothing apart from this. These are the three things, and these are the ways we'll be writing the build pipeline and the release pipeline eventually. Okay, that's it for today batch. We'll start with basic build pipeline tomorrow, and eventually on Monday we'll have a complete CI/CD file written in YAML. But the basic build pipeline that we'll do based on this syntax what you see right now, and this all syntax is written in a notepad, guys, with examples. This is all given over here. I'll be sharing this with you for your reference. If you want to go and try this by yourself, you can. It's all written, what is list, array, how the key value, dictionary things are added, how to nest it, and everything is written over here. I'll be sharing this along with the PPT for your reference. So that's it for me. If anyone has any question, please do let me know before we wind up the call for today. Anyone? Any questions, guys? Anything in the group? Nothing. No questions? Okay. There's no questions, then we can wind up. Make sure to practice the ARM part. Okay. And don't keep any backlogs. Okay. Thank you very much, and hopefully everyone is following the assignments. If there's any difficulty understanding the assignment, or if you're not able to do it, do let me know so that we can have a working session and we can get those things done. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye bye.